Yeah, good day from Reagan Airport. You know, the words you hear most often to describe the situation is apocalyptic, also bankruptcy and depression. Consider the fact that the airlines and the airports are virtually empty right now, and the fact that there are fewer people flying right now than at any time since the 1950s and before the jet age. From grounded planes to deserted airports to row after row of empty seats, air travel in this country has dropped a staggering 95%. Airlines, quite simply, fighting for their very survival. Their priority now, safeguarding crew members and passengers who are already uneasy.
It's definitely a little bit unnerving to fly just because of everything. You don't know who has what and how clean things have been, at least on the flight.
As of Monday, every airline in the country will require passengers to wear face masks from the moment they check in until they leave the concourse. Airlines already deep cleaning their planes every day with antibacterial disinfectants and the same electrostatic sprayers that hospitals use, capping the number of passengers on board, leaving middle seats open, taking longer to board and deplane, and boarding from the rear of the plane forward to minimize passengers bumping into each other.
First, before I sit down on the plane, I'm going to wipe my seat down with my Lysol wipes and then just put my music in and try to relax and go to sleep.
Desperate to stay afloat, the airlines have already received $50 billion in government bailout money, but had to promise to keep their employees through September 30th. Now the airlines are expected to lay off tens of thousands of people starting October 1st.
This is a matter of sheer gut survival. These companies have been crippled in a matter of about 7 weeks.
United Airlines' Josh Ernest. What are you asking of your employees?
We have asked our employees to voluntarily reduce their hours and reduce their pay. In some cases, that's taking unpaid time off. In some cases, that is going from full-time to part-time on a voluntary basis.
Nationwide, airlines have parked 3,000 planes. Airports also struggling. With a 97% drop in passengers, Tampa is encouraging everyone to wear masks, guiding travelers to space out, adding hand sanitizers, and thoroughly cleaning from curb to plane.
It's important for us to make sure we focus on any place where people can touch. We need to disinfect that as quickly and as often as we can.
The new normal in travel may be here to stay. The common belief among airline execs is that we will not see a return to 2019 passenger levels until a very large part of the population has been vaccinated. And right now there is no vaccine. Consider the fact that business travel is the bread and butter for airlines. And right now, a lot of businesses are saying, you know what, Zoom is working pretty well. We don't need to be spending money on business travelers. And as it relates to the average everyday family traveling, usually they travel one time a year. With 30 to 40 million people unemployed, right now those people are spending their money just trying to feed themselves and pay the rent or the mortgage. I'm Tom Costello at Reagan National Airport. Back to you.
Universities across the country are making plans to reopen in the fall. So what will college be like next semester? The Chronicle of Higher Education says almost 75% of colleges are planning to have in-person classes. About 15% still waiting to decide. Rice University in Houston is one of the schools hoping to have some students back on campus. The president of Rice, David LeBron, joins me now. And David, I know this must be an incredibly tough decision and a complicated one to figure it all out. How do you plan to reopen Rice for students come this fall?
So we really were driven by kind of three fundamental ideas, which is flexibility, agility, and adaptability. And the truth is nobody knows exactly what things are going to be like 3 months from now. And the way they are 3 months from now might be different than the way they are 4 months from now or 5 months from now. And so what the decision we came to, we think based on all the evidence, we will be able to open in August in person with our students on campus. But we're going to what we call dual delivery to make sure that, one, it's adaptable to all students and also professors so that they could either attend the class in person or they can attend online.
What kind of assurances can you give students and parents who are worried about being back at school? And what kind of specific safety precautions are you taking for those students who will be there?
So what we're planning for is a regime of We hope widespread testing, of course, of our students and contact tracing to make sure that we'll know who students have been in contact with if they should test positive. And not, of course, just students, but also staff and faculty, and then to be able to isolate our students. And depending on the circumstances we see at the time, we may have to adopt specific social distancing measures. Those might include, for example, having students sit every other seat or every other row in a classroom to ensure that they are a safe distance if, at the time, the circumstances and the guidance from the CDC warrant that.
Have you seen a significant decline in enrollment or people hesitating to pay their tuition, waiting to see what happens?
No, we just sort of finished our enrollment season. It was a highly successful season. At this point, I would say we're slightly oversubscribed for the fall. Very strong response from students around the world as well. I think the truth is that our current students and future students are eager to be on a college campus. That said, they want to make sure it's going to be a safe experience for them, and that's what we'll emphasize.
This week, President Trump said that schools should open in the fall, but he suggested some teachers might need to stay home. Here's what he said.
I think that the teachers that are a certain age, perhaps you say over 60, especially if they have a problem with heart or diabetes or any one of a number of things, I think that they should not be teaching school for a while, and everybody would understand that fully.
How are you making sure that your faculty members who are either over 60 or who have pre-existing conditions that make them high risk are safe?
So that's why, as I said, we adopted the dual delivery. And so if faculty feel that they're at risk, either because of age or underlying health conditions, they would be able to teach remotely, as we put it. Now, they may be teaching remotely to some students who are actually in a classroom and other students who are also online.
I know college football is not only part of the fabric of your school, but it's also a moneymaker. What can you tell us about plans for the upcoming season?
So again, we'll have to assess the circumstances. Right now, we would be optimistic about having a full athletics season running, but the athletics at the end of the day is going to be subject to the same set of rules and protections and precautions that the rest of the campus is subject to. And so if we've decided not to have gatherings of more than 50 people, that's, of course, going to be a fundamental challenge for athletics.
David, I know, again, these are tough decisions to make. You have a lot of people that you are worried about as you make them. Thank you so much for sharing what your experience has been like. And we are all hopeful that things are back to normal and your campus is thriving as soon as possible.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks for your interest in the situation of higher education.
Absolutely. Take care. A lot of kids and, let's be honest, parents are struggling with at-home schooling, but one 8th grader is actually thriving. NBC News correspondent Gani Schwartz has the story of a student who hopes that remote learning is here to stay.
So right now, they're delivering the New York Times.
It's a big day for 13-year-old Veronique Mintz waiting outside her neighborhood bodega.
And we're going to buy 5 copies of the New York Times.
And there, in print in the New York Times, her op-ed with the headline, "Learning Online Beats School."
This is very exciting. I got 0 and 9.
Now, there's something to be said about an 8th grader that can help her friends with quadratic equations over FaceTime.
3 multiplied by -3 on step 2. And so that led you to get -9.
And yet somehow still finds the time to write an opinion piece in between online classes.
So, hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's going well. How are you?
So we called her up to see what her secret is to being so productive when a lot of others are struggling to concentrate.
So am I catching you after, I guess, first period?
Now, we only have 1 live class a day, so the rest I do myself with assignments they send to Google Classroom.
To see exactly how that works, Veronique agreed to keep a video diary to show us her school day.
Did you finish your part of the art assignment?
And while to a lot of us, these days might all feel painfully the same, Veronique has been keeping a planner.
I've been doing distance learning since March 23rd, so for about 7 weeks now.
Are you counting the days?
Yes, I am actually.
Going into this semester, did you ever imagine something like this?
I really didn't actually. I was very unhappy with school, and I was kind of just like, I'll get through it. I just have to keep pushing forward.
In her op-ed, Veronique wrote about struggling with math during normal school.
With distance learning, all of that wasted time is eliminated. I stop, start, and even rewind the teacher's recording when I need to, and I'm able to understand the lesson on the day it's taught.
So all of a sudden, school has a rewind button for you.
Yes, that's been a game changer.
She says 80% of their schoolwork is now collaboration-based, with small groups of 3 to 5 students, and virtual office hours with her teachers have become invaluable, something she hopes will stay when things go back to normal.
Every storm is followed by a rainbow.
If I do ever have questions, I get those answered. I'm also able to catch up with the teacher.
Do you think the type of distance learning that you're doing would work for everybody?
Definitely not. I have friends and just like people in my grade who I know spend hours on end just like on their phone.
This drawer, I keep my writing implements.
But for her, there is nothing like being able to work from her own organized desk at her own organized pace. And in her bottom drawer, bubble wrap that she can use whenever she wants to pop her stress away.
It really helps me distress during the day.
And Gotti joins us live now. All right, Gotti, Veronique definitely seems like she has found her distance learning groove, but how are the other kids doing?
Yeah, she is going to be a future CEO of a Fortune 500 company, clearly, from what you saw. But this was really interesting for me to cover because I hate to admit it, I was probably one of those middle schoolers that she writes about in that op-ed who would roll around on the ground in middle school and have maybe a third of the class time was spent trying to keep everybody in line. I definitely would have driven her crazy during school. I also know myself, I wouldn't have done well in a pandemic like this without strong deadlines and regimented periods. But we have been hearing from other disciplined students who share her feelings. However, in the later grades, as classes get more advanced, we've got a lot of students who say you need hands-on learning, especially for things like biology, for shop class, or even things like music.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, it's pretty hard to harmonize effectively over Zoom.
Yeah, for sure. But Gotti, it is so interesting to see. There was another piece in the Times this week about grown-ups who actually like working from home. And it's just interesting to look at, students who like it and thrive, grown-ups who like it and thrive. Is there any indication that maybe some of these systems that are being used to distance learn or some of the things that are actually working could be part of the classrooms of the future?
Yeah, so the two things that she was really hoping would translate over into whatever the new normal becomes is the rewind button that you heard about. So instead of raising your hands and asking a professor or your teacher to explain something over and over and over again, you could just go back, rewind it, and take it at your own pace. So that was something that I think anybody would do well with. The other thing was office hours. She says that before, office hours were kind of tough to get by, but now the teacher sets up about an hour a week, and then kids will come in and they can talk about whatever they want with that teacher for that hour. So they kind of get that hands-on time that they may not get in a full classroom. But both of those things make a lot of sense no matter who you are. I think that could definitely help everybody. I got to ask, Allison, because I bet a lot of people are wondering, what kind of student would you have been in middle school?
Oh, my gosh. I probably would have been I like working from home. You know what? I do have to say, I was an only child. So I think about this a lot because I said to my husband, he's one of 4 boys. And I said, I can't imagine as an only child growing up what it would be like to be home and have no contact with other kids my age. I think that would have been really, really challenging. But I would have been so into like the rewind button, work on my own pace. Like I was the geek who had Friday's work done on Monday. But I think I really would have missed that interaction with my classmates because they, in effect, replaced the siblings that I didn't have. And look, I have to ask because, there's sort of a big piece of this that we haven't addressed is it is one thing to be successful learning at home when you have access to a laptop and Wi-Fi, but that is a privilege that not all students and not all kids in school districts have. And I imagine some of those kids are really struggling trying to learn from home if they don't have the tools they need.
Absolutely. Without those tools and without the ability to dial into class, it's basically impossible. And it's become a huge issue across the entire country. We've got a lot of schools right now trying to figure out how to get this tech into the hands of absolutely everybody. In New York, for example, there have already been problems getting over 300,000 iPads with connectivity into the hands of students who need them. They chose iPads because it was the easiest way to configure, they said. But in other states, some school districts are literally asking people in the community to donate old laptops, which brings its own set of problems when configuring everyone to be on the same systems. So still clearly a lot of kinks to work out. Allison?
Yeah, and Gadi, I think I'm going to spend the rest of the weekend picturing you as a middle schooler kind of rolling around on the floor causing distractions for other kids. I would have guessed you to be the I love working at home geek, too.
Desk. I bet we could turn around and in that perfect background that you have, you could open up and all of your writing utensils would be there. And you'd probably have bubble wrap as well.
Oh my God, I love bubble wrap. Excellent for packing things as well as relieving stress. Veronica's my kind of girl. Gadi, thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Great to see you and have a safe and healthy weekend.
You too. Thanks, you too.
And a quick programming note, this Saturday night, check out UNICEF Won't Stop. The special event celebrates our frontline workers and it highlights UNICEF's response to the coronavirus. It is packed with musical performances from several artists, including Pink, The Eurythmics, Sting, and Cher, who will be performing a new single. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on NBC News Now.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.